Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. I have a special guest with me, William Lopez Cordero, who is the president of the MIT Bitcoin Club. Many of you may have heard of the MIT Bitcoin Club. They've hosted a lot of events, a lot of interesting things happening there. So William, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
William, I think my subscribers and the viewers would love to get an overview of the MIT Bitcoin Club. Like, when did it start? What's your mission? What are some of the activities you guys are doing on your end?
Sure. Yeah, so the Bitcoin Club started in 2012, and it's been one of the first blockchain clubs in the world, which is where the name comes from. The Bitcoin Club, when Bitcoin was the only cryptocurrency out there.
Sure.
It's also very similar with the Stanford Bitcoin Club, which is so MIT and Stanford are very close within the cryptocurrency space.
Mm-hmm.
And things that we're working on, so we started off with doing an annual expo because we really wanted to focus on educating the public on the type of applications that blockchain has. And so when I mean blockchain, it's very broad in the aspect where it's not just cryptocurrency, it's more focused on the technologies. Bitcoin was the foundation thanks to Satoshi Nakamoto and the foundings that he made. And we build on his foundations and continue to not only teach people about Bitcoin, but about different types of blockchain-related technologies out there in the space. And so things that we do is the MIT Bitcoin Expo that we've been hosting since 2013. So we do that every year now, usually around March. And now it's grown up to where we have usually around 700 attendees or so. A lot of good prominent speakers, not just within the Bitcoin space, but also within other types of applications. So we bring speakers from different areas, from Ethereum to Monero, from Zcash, so privacies and things like that. And so some of the things that we focus on, so it's the expo, but we also focus a lot with trying to make adoption of cryptocurrencies more prevalent around the area.
Sure.
So there's things that we do with MIT administration, with having them to accept Bitcoin donations. For example, one of the biggest things that we did that MIT's kind of known for within the crypto realm is the 2014 Bitcoin airdrop, where $500,000 worth of Bitcoin was given to or I guess $100 part of the $500 raised was given to every student that entered MIT. That happened in 2014, and I was a freshman during the time. So I also was part of the initiative as well. And so that kind of started off a huge wave of adoption within the neighboring area, where you had a bunch of different restaurants accepting Bitcoin. You had MIT's convenience stores accepting Bitcoin. You had Bitcoin ATMs going around campus, things like that. And so nowadays, even MIT has been one of the biggest proponents when it comes to blockchain and crypto innovation out there. And we definitely have to thank our professors and the people that continue to build on this space and continue to make it better especially as the years come along. And it's been 10 years now.
Wow.
And there's still a lot of things that we could do to make it better.
Got it. Wow, that's very cool. Exciting items happening on your end as well with the expo. I've noticed a lot of prominent speakers, and like you said, people even from non-crypto industries have been attending. So that's very cool, and very surprised to hear about the airdrop there, and like you said, the neighboring communities adopting crypto as a result. Very cool, and obviously you guys are educating folks and trying to push the adoption of blockchain and obviously crypto as well. Very cool. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on, let's say, the other top two cryptos and digital assets. So XRP being more of a digital assets, Ethereum a crypto. What are your thoughts on those two?
So you said XRP, and what was the other one?
Ethereum.
Oh, yes. So I don't really have too many thoughts on XRP. I'm not exactly sure what the main use case is, other than being used for e-commerce and I think it's international payments.
Yeah.
But I definitely have a lot of. I'm also a blockchain developer on the side, and so I started off with the Bitcoin platform using Golang as one of the starting points for for creating a lot of useful technologies on top of the Bitcoin network. But some of the things that I did realize when I was developing on the platform was that it wasn't as easy to develop as Ethereum is.
Sure.
Because Ethereum's main purpose is to create applications on their virtual machine. And so a lot of the useful ways that they've allowed different developers to do that is through their smart contract platform. And so I definitely see a lot of good things coming from Ethereum, especially with some of the stuff that they've already released with their ETH 2.0 timeline and things like that. I definitely see a lot of potential there. I did develop a few distributed applications on Ethereum while I was playing around with some of the different technologies out there. So I have dabbled with Ethereum and Neo and some other, I wouldn't say any, some crypto-based blockchains. I would say I also did dabble with Hyperledger Fabric and Corda as well, which are more permissioned. And so
Wow.
I definitely see a lot of promise within the space of making it very easy for developers to build on these platforms.
Yep.
I definitely have a lot of respect for Bitcoin because it's mostly used as a transfer of ownership within their UTXO model, and its main purpose is just for payments. XRP is very similar, but I don't really know too much about it to comment on it.
Got it. Very interesting, with your background, and you mentioned you built on some stuff on the Ethereum network. I'm certainly bullish on all three and some others as well. And this is, of course, not financial or investment advice, but what cryptos do you hold in your portfolio?
So right now I mostly hold Bitcoin. I used to hold a bunch of different altcoins. So it ranged from Bitcoin, Ethereum, Neo, and then they also have Neo Gas based on the life cycle of how long you hold the token.
Sure.
And then I also did dabble with a few other exchanges. So Binance and so Binance had Binance Coin.
Yep.
Things like that. And then Raven Coin at some point. And then so it's a bunch of different ones. So Maker, their DAOs.
Yep.
I didn't spend too much time with stable coins, but I definitely at the end of the day moved away from altcoins and now focus just on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I know. Bitcoin, if at this point it's like very strong. It has a store of value, and I know a lot of people have done that. And I could see why people want to do that, or be incentivized to do so, because Bitcoin is just, everything is attached to it and moves with it. So you can almost just put everything in Bitcoin if you wanted to. But yeah, there's a lot of other projects and altcoins out there. So, and yeah, same thing. I stay away from stable coins. I actually don't like stable coins.
Yeah, so something that I could say from the Bitcoin Club is that the only account that the Bitcoin Club follows on Twitter is Dogecoin. So we're definitely a huge fan of Dogecoin on that aspect.
Dogecoin, it continues to survive. I don't know how or why or when, where, but it happens. Now, we've heard in the news of MIT is developing their own cryptocurrency called Vault, and it's supposedly, or as far as what we've heard, that it's supposed to be better than Bitcoin and many of the other tokens out there. Can you shed any light on that? I don't know how much you can share, but would love to get some insight on that.
Yeah, so Vault is based on, it uses Algorand, and for those that don't know what Algorand is it's a different type of blockchain protocol that uses something called pure proof of stake, which is different from what Ethereum's using. And I don't know too much about the math behind it, because I haven't really spent too much time on Algorand, but it was developed by a professor at CSAIL, so the Computer Science Artificial Intelligence Laboratory at MIT, and so it was developed by a professor named Silvio Macali, and he's the one that developed a lot of different types of encryption schemes. So he's very well known within the security industry, and he saw a lot of different use cases that were developed with blockchain, but not a lot of research going behind it. And so him and his team developed Algorand and pure proof of stake, which uses a lot of very heavy math fundamentals behind cryptography in order to develop a very interesting way to increase the number of transactions output while also having a lot of innovation within the network as well. And so I definitely see. So Vault is based on that. It's an extension that is making it easier for people to transact on the network. I wouldn't really say that it's MIT supported, but it definitely has a lot of roots within MIT. And so within that, I would say it's mostly it goes hand to hand with Algorand's development, because Vault is based on Algorand, and so it's, but Algorand also tends to be very, very cryptic on what they do, because they're also still developing their platform. They have their own testnet already live, but they're definitely still developing, and so they haven't really expressed too much about their development applications.
Got it. Do you know if like Vault would probably be used in the MIT ecosystem in any way, or is it going to go public in the market like how Bitcoin and the other tokens are? If you know at all.
Yeah, I definitely think it has potential to go into the market. I'm not exactly sure if it will, but I definitely think it's one of those use cases. So there's a lot of research that has been developed here at MIT, specifically within CSAIL and within the digital currency initiative. So there's people that have built. So one of the researchers at the MIT DCI helped co-found the Lightning Network.
Oh,
and
wow.
So that's heavily used within the Bitcoin industry now, and also being used as part of the Raiden network. And so there's a lot of innovation within the space. There's now a new, very interesting project that I was lucky to be a part of, which is called UTXO, which is a scaling solution for Bitcoin's UTXO space, just because the space keeps increasing over time. And so by having a very innovative way to condense and being able to hash the different outputs such that the people that own the different keys, I think that's a very innovative thing that's currently going on. And so there's a lot of things that are going on, and I know Vault is definitely an interesting use case, and I could definitely see it being used in the future. It's just that the space is so new, and there's a lot of innovation going on, and so it's kind of like a lot of noise going around at the same time, but there's very interesting use cases coming from it.
Wow, very interesting. I would love to see how that pans out, because obviously having MIT behind it, and given that it's a bit superior to even some of the other cryptos out there, I'm very curious to see who's going to be the winner. But obviously coming from MIT, it has a almost like an advantage, so to speak. But I would be curious to see, and I would love for you to come back and maybe talk about it, things like that, as it progresses.
Sure, yeah, that would be great.
So on that note of what's coming ahead, maybe is there anything that we can expect from the MIT Bit Club maybe this year into next year? Anything big happening?
So we're always trying to make things better here. We definitely do have a few projects going around, but not something. But we definitely have the expo happening every year, and we're always welcome to different ideas. We usually have a hackathon as part of the expo, and we have different speakers from different parts of the industry to help educate pretty much anyone that's interested in learning about the technical implementations that blockchain can provide.
Sure.
I would say that one of our major ideas is going back to our roots in 2014 when it came to Bitcoin adoption. So something that MIT currently does now, which I definitely appreciate, is that they encrypt your diploma once you graduate and put it on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Wow.
Which I think is a pretty interesting thing that they're doing.
Wow.
But they use a third party for that. But I definitely want to see more of that stuff happening. There's been diminishing numbers of Bitcoin ATMs around. There's been restaurants that stopped accepting Bitcoin, and so one of the initiatives that we definitely want to do is partner with MIT administration to make sure that, for example, I don't believe that there's any university right now that accepts Bitcoin or cryptocurrency donations because of the way that taxes are filed and things like that.
Sure.
And so one of the things that we're working with the current administration is making sure that, for example, if someone wants to donate with Bitcoin, for example, with some of our events, or maybe even within some of the other initiatives out there going around MIT, we definitely want MIT to support that sort of foundation. So then we could start bringing in donations, not just within fiat, but also within cryptocurrency. So starting out with Bitcoin and making sure that that we're properly using, because there's so many things that we could do.
Yeah.
It's just that we're limited right now because it is supported by MIT administration, but there needs to be a foundation set in place, so then we know what we could use different types of cryptocurrency for. So yeah, we definitely need the setting stones to make sure that when we're starting to innovate, that we at least have the foundation and the support placed by MIT administration.
Sure. That absolutely makes sense. And I'm very interested and curious about, what you just mentioned about the diplomas being issued on the Bitcoin blockchain. That's very cool. Is that optional, like if you want it that way, or is it something that's already like set up where it's automatically done?
Yeah. So right now they're definitely pushing towards having every single diploma on Bitcoin's blockchain. I would say that right now it is optional because last year I think they started adopting it for the past 2 years, but it hasn't been readily available.
Got it.
And so it's only been by you asking administration to do it for you. But now there's been a lot of emails being sent to the students where they encourage you to do it. So then they don't necessarily say that they use blockchain, but I know because there's people within the Bitcoin club that specifically asked for this type of service and then now that I'm also graduating, so I'm graduating in next week essentially.
Oh wow, congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'll also be having my diploma on Bitcoin's network as well.
Wow. Very cool. That's very cool. Talk about adoption. Very cool. So finally, the last question I want to wrap things up with is, and of course, not financial or investment advice, but what's your personal outlook on the market? It seems we've come out of a bear market. We're in a bull market right now, and we got big players launching. We have adoption taking place slowly but surely. But what's your outlook for like the next year or so?
So it's very interesting because last year there was such a huge bull market, or I think it was in 2017.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in 2017. So that's so I started getting into space with Bitcoin, and then I moved on to Ethereum, and then that's when the bull market started happening, and I was just unaware of anything that was going on because there wasn't really that much news on it. But now there's so much news, but it's still very difficult to predict the market itself because it's hard to tell what are the defining features for why the prices tend to fluctuate. They do. And so it's hard to tell whether or not this year will be another bull market, but I know last year definitely was a bear market, and so I definitely see a lot of potential for this year, but it's definitely hard to tell.
Got it. Yeah, it's. I don't think anyone could predict it, but I think we can agree upon it's growing. The market's growing, and you got your Fidelities, your TD Ameritrade, and all these big players now coming in to offer crypto trading services. So, and we see, I just heard yesterday at AT&T said, hey, we're going to accept crypto via BitGo for payments, right? You pay your bills and stuff. So it's like, it's growing and it's going more mainstream. We're seeing mass marketing and so forth. But like you said, I don't think anybody could predict like, oh, the bull run's going to happen here. I know some people are looking forward to like the Bitcoin halving coming up next year as being like a bullish or an item that could spark a bull run because of the scarcity factor. But we'll have to wait and see, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think it has adopted a role in the way that people see things, and even so, there's a lot of pros and cons between the Lightning Network and having an off-chain solution out there. Yep. But there definitely needs to be widespread adoption, and there's definitely a lot of good players out there that are helping people set up their own Lightning nodes. For example, the Lightning Torch that was happening. I think that was a very good use case of having the whole concept of how the Lightning channel works. I think it was a good way to spread and help with adoption. That are very important, especially for the ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure. William, a lot of insightful information, really cool things happening on your end. And once again, congrats on your upcoming graduation. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and we'll love to have you back on. But once again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.